Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Thailand, and today I wanted to get you caught up on our latest project, a kitchen renovation. It actually started out, it was just going to be a small kitchen update, and then one thing led to another, escalated, it got out of control, and we decided just to embrace the full renovation. So today I want to take you through kind of how we ended up there, what happened along the way, how we got to the full renovation, and what we've done so far. And then today we're actually getting ready for them to come and template for countertops tomorrow. So we've got to get at least the sink set. They have to still be able to move it around for templating. So we're going to get that set, and then we need to install the big fridge cabinet and fridge panels that are going to go around it. All right, so about a year ago now, we started phase one of this main area renovation. So our living room, kitchen, dining room, the spaces all kind of go together. The first things we tackled were taking out kind of an island wall that was between the living room and kitchen, and then building the fireplace. So this is phase two now, and we're starting with the half wall. The whole house is very open concept, but we wanted a little more separation to the back of the house where the bedrooms, bathrooms, laundry room, all of that are, and to define our dining room space a little bit better. The dining room has felt like it's kind of just floating out here in no man's land. So completing the half wall into a full wall defines the dining room area a lot better, and then gives us some separation to the back of the house. While we were at it, we also added a linen closet here over the staircase. It was totally unused space until now, and we could really use a linen closet in this house, but we'll come back to that project later. So that brings us to the other side of the room from what used to be the half wall, the kitchen. Why didn't we do those as two separate projects? If you can kind of get a layout here, everything in the space is really connected, and it had to happen all at the same time to get into the new layout before we could move on to the rebuilding phase. It just made more sense to do it kind of all in one fell swoop. So once the wall was in, we got started with the kitchen demo. We had to take pretty much everything out so that we could get to the tile because it ran under the cabinets. And it had to be removed in order to lay the new floors all the way flat across this main area. There used to be a diagonal seam where the old flooring met the tile, so we wanted to get rid of that and just be able to lay the new floors straight across. We also ended up taking out the pantry at the same time so that we can add a door into the attached garage.
Hit it really as hard as you can! Oh!
Yeah. The garage was added after the house was built, but no door at the time, and this is really the only place that we can put one in. So after a lot of back and forth, we decided to go for it. We do have space on the other side of the kitchen where we can add a set of big, tall pantry cabinets, so not concerned about losing that pantry space, and it'll really be nice to be able to come right in the house, especially during the cold winter months, which winter can get kind of long around here. So once all the cabinets and tile were out, we got to work on the fiber rock underlayment, and holy smokes, that tile, it would have survived a bomb. But after a few very long days, we got to the subfloor. It was probably the hardest demo, I think, that we've ever done to date. It was intense. Then we actually put all of our cabinets back in because, one, we live here, so we needed a functioning kitchen, and two, we were planning on keeping the original cabinets. But as fate would have it, that ended up not working out. Surprise. Yeah, there was a big moment of panic when we realized that. Before we had started this whole project, we thought we had found the matching cabinets, same color, brand, same distributor, everything. They were the matching cabinets, but when we brought the few that we needed in, we realized that the manufacturer had changed the dimensions just slightly. But with the doors and drawers that were going to line up right next to each other, it was going to be way too obvious. It was just going to be really noticeable. Why didn't we check that ahead of time? Honestly, I don't know, just assumed that because they were the same cabinets, everything was going to work out. It was a mistake, but a very not good mistake. We're keeping the same general layout for the kitchen. There was no reason to change it, especially when we were going to be using the original cabinets, but we did need to fill in a few cabinets on each end, one where we took the pantry out, and then on the other side of the kitchen where there actually used to be a desk, and we took that out a while ago when we kind of did a phase one quick kitchen refresh situation. So we did need a couple cabinets to be able to fill in here, and after looking at all of our options, we decided that the best course of action was just to embrace the full renovation once we realized that we couldn't match the existing cabinets. I'm sure we could have made it work, but we want to add value and improve our home with each of these projects, and it felt a little bit like we were just kind of trying to piece it together. I was also planning to do a huge amount of work to the existing cabinets to get them kind of to the style that we were going for, so that played into the decision as well. Honestly, we've always dreamed of doing a big renovation in this kitchen, and we had discussed trying new cabinets a few times before we started, but we decided to try to use the ones that were there because there was nothing wrong with them. They were in good shape and everything. But once we realized that that wasn't gonna work, there was some freak out, of course. But we did find an affordable way to do it with ready to assemble cabinets. So we went with the unfinished Versa shaker from Kitchen Cabinet Kings. It was a little bit intimidating when all the boxes arrived, but somehow the amount of work ahead of us didn't seem so bad once it was our only option, of course. So the first thing I did was build a couple cabinet drying racks. You can purchase them, but I found these great plans from Rogue Engineer and just decided to whip up a couple. They only cost about 25 bucks and took a few hours to put together. I'll add a link to his plans down in the description below. I just used 2x4s for the frame and then 1x2 furring strips for the arms. I actually didn't even screw the arms in. I just used brad nails, which worked out. We had to replace a couple nails as we were going from the weight of the cabinets, but really it worked out just fine. I was just trying to save time and money on the screws. So we were able to do about half the cabinets at a time. So about 10 cabinets, all of the slabs, all the pieces that went into it. It would have been really difficult to find space for all of the pieces and then avoid drips while they were drying. Not to mention keeping them organized without these cabinet drying racks. So it's definitely worth the extra time and effort at the beginning to get those set up. We also set up a spray tent, just kind of a rinky-dink put together thing. I used a picnic canopy from Walmart and then clamped plastic drop cloths around it. It worked like a charm and it gave us plenty of space to be able to move in and out and move the cabinet pieces around. All right, so on to the cabinets. Here's what you're looking at when you open a box of RTA cabinets. We decided to do half the cabinets at a time just because of the sheer number of pieces that we had to try to keep organized. You could definitely build more drying racks and then do all the cabinets at once, but that just seemed like way too many moving pieces at the time when we were getting started. Also, like, takes up a massive amount of space. So we just did half and then half. I did a clear coat finish on the interiors of the cabinets and then a painted finish on the outside. So when we open the boxes, we take out all the pieces for the clear coat, move them to the drying racks, and then we used little pieces of painter's tape and then would label that section. And then we'd put all the pieces that were waiting for paint back into the corresponding box. And then once I finished the clear coat pieces, we'd switch all the pieces. So we take out everything that needed to be painted, set them on the drying racks in that labeled section, and moved the finished clear coat pieces back into the box that they had come out of. There were some pieces that had clear coat on one side and paint on the other, so they stayed out on the drying racks for both the clear coat and the paint. After talking with the guys at my local Sherwin-Williams, I decided to go with their Gallery Series clear coat. It was the best, hardest finish that we could achieve with the little sprayer I have. He actually said a lot of the cabinet shops around here are switching to it because it's so much nicer to apply, super durable, and not as tough on your equipment. So I went with that for all of the clear coat pieces. Not gonna lie, I felt a little bit outgunned on a project of this size with this sprayer, but it did amazing. Like, I would recommend it a million times over. It's made for small DIY and home improvement projects, but it totally kicked butt on these cabinets. I'll link it below. It's like 75 bucks. I got through this whole thing without it wearing out, and I actually just used it to refinish a nightstand the other day, and it's still kicking. Had I known that we were gonna do the kitchen on this scale, I probably would have planned to be able to like get a sprayer that felt a little bit more matched to the size of the project. But again, this whole thing kind of spiraled out of control into a full kitchen renovation without a lot of being able to plan ahead. Basically, the kitchen was torn apart and we just had to figure out how to get it back together. So $75 sprayer did the job. So once the clear coat was on, it was time to pick the paint. I was going back and forth between those two bottom samples here, but once I held the new flooring up with them, we love the bottom left one. It's always crazy how the colors change with all the different finishes around them, but it usually makes the decision pretty clear. So I primed all the pieces first. That was the toughest part on the sprayer. The primer is so sticky, which is a good thing, that's the point. But I did have to clean the sprayer a couple times during each coat. After like maybe 25-ish cabinet pieces, I would just go rinse everything, clean the sprayer out, and then get a new load of primer. It just gummed up the tip quicker than anything else, but we made it through. Once the primer was dry, I lightly sanded each piece, working with the grain to make sure it was perfectly smooth, and then it was on to paint. The color is Shiitake from Sherwin-Williams in their emerald urethane trim enamel. This is the second time that I've used this paint on kitchen cabinets. I've also used it for trim work and furniture pieces that get a lot of wear and tear, like dressers or bookcases. It's very durable, it's easy to apply, self-leveling, so it smooths out beautifully as it dries. I was happy with it in our last kitchen, and I've been really happy with it on these cabinets too. I just did a light sanding between each coat to keep it smooth and then sprayed it on. When all was said and done, I did 3 coats of clear coat on the interiors of all the cabinets, 1 coat of primer on anything that was gonna get painted, and then 3 coats of paint on everything that got painted. So the fronts of the cabinet doors, insides of them, drawer faces, and then each exterior face of the cabinet. Once that was all dry, we assembled each cabinet one by one. Honestly, I would 100% do the RTA cabinets again, but I don't know if I'd ever want to do the finishing again. That was the most challenging part. It took a really long time, and it was like a giant puzzle to try to keep all the corresponding cabinet pieces together with themselves, so that in the end we had like all the pieces of each cabinet that needed to go together. Famous last words, right? But the finishing was tough. We were definitely happy to be through that part, be able to work on assembly, and then have cabinets to work with again. So then we demoed our kitchen for a second time. All right, we just removed the upper cabinets at first and installed all the new ones. Now remember how I said that we did half the cabinets at a time? So we got all of these uppers finished, assembled, and installed, and then we actually went and started the process all over for the lower cabinets. So it started with the finishing, assembled them, and then brought them in and got them installed. Once those were installed, we were able to lay the new floors across, and it all really started to come together. All right, so that brings us up to today. It's been a journey. It's been an adventure so far, but we're really excited. It's gonna be wild to have like a fully functional, put together looking kitchen again. But we're getting there. I do get asked a lot about the yellow backsplash. Yes, we're gonna be taking it out. We are gonna be redoing it. We're just tackling this in manageable pieces right now. So there's actually a lot more pieces that are gonna go in, like a mudroom and a door over here, pantry cabinets over there, but they're gonna be separate projects. And we're just kind of like taking them one at a time as we can. So the yellow backsplash, it will go eventually, but that'll be after the countertops, so that we can tile down to the new countertops. Anyways, getting ahead of myself. Right now I'm gonna get started with the sink, getting that set into place, and then we'll tackle the fridge cabinet next. Just kidding, we actually started with the fridge cabinet first. We'll worry about the rest of the backsplash later, but for now I just removed this small section so that the fridge panel would fit here. We had to add a filler piece on the top and bottom cabinets so the doors open without hitting the fridge panel. We lined them up, clamped them nice and tight, and attached them with the cabinet screws. We did our best to avoid too many fillers, but we have these 2 here and then one on the other side of the kitchen between the corner cabinets so that all the cabinets line up and the doors open properly. For the fridge panel then, we had to add spacer blocks onto the backs of the cabinets, and then we attached the fridge panel to the upper and lower cabinets with screws through those spacers. We also added spacers to the cabinet that'll go over the fridge to attach it to its big side panels. The face frames on the cabinets stick out beyond the plywood box, so those various spacers just bridge that gap. We used the RV jack again here to get the fridge cabinet into the correct position, then attach it along the face frame, the inside of the box to the side panels and the cabinet next to it, and then to the wall studs in the back also. And then we just did the same thing on the other side. Okay, now we'll get the sink cabinet ready. I tell you what, there's nothing more exciting than cutting off the front of your new cabinet at midnight. We slightly underestimated how long it was going to take to hang that fridge cabinet, and we had to be ready for the countertop templating the next morning, so into the night we went. We're installing an apron front farmhouse sink, so I measured the corresponding height down the front of the cabinet and then cut that section out so that the sink will sit flush with the bottom of the countertops. Then we built the frame for the sink to sit on. We just did a quick frame around the cabinet box, but we'll come back in and add some more supports to make sure it's nice and sturdy before the final installation. This is what we called good enough for template day, since he had to be able to move the sink around a bit anyways when he was templating. The additional supports won't change where the sink sits at all, just make it more secure. Here's our first look at the cabinets with a sink in them. I smashed my finger really badly, but it was still exciting. And that takes us through part 1 of the kitchen renovation. Demo, new cabinets, new floors, and we're ready for them to measure the countertops. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today, and I will see you next time.